Welcome back to the kitchen, everybody. You know what we haven't done in a long time? That is make a killer burger. But tonight, that changes. Not only are we recreating a killer, iconic cultural burger. Yes, we'll get into that in a minute. But we're going to be recreating an entire eating experience. We're making Irish-style pub burgers with some homemade fries and a nice from-scratch beer cheese or pub cheese dip. Now, this actually recreates an entire eating experience, which is absolutely one of my favorite experiences dating back to 2018 when I visited North Virginia to scope out a concert venue, and I stopped at a real Irish pub. I'm talking about Ned Devine's Irish Pub and Eatery, and I had one of the Irish burgers, and we're going to be doing this with a little bit of a twist. Without further ado, let's get started. Before we can get into the burgers, we need to start talking about the pickles. Yes, a couple videos ago, I did promise you guys I would show you how to make my homemade pickles. I did have some supply issues. My last set of cucumbers went bad. So we're going to get down to that right now. We're going to start with our house-made pickles. So let's get started. Alright, so what's in front of me are 5 organic mini cucumbers. Now guys, you can use regular pickling cucumbers, English cucumbers, regular cucumbers, but this is what I had on hand at the moment. Now I originally set my mandolin to number 2, but that ended up cutting these pickles a little too thin, and I wanted some nice hearty burger style dill chips, so I went ahead and slid the mandolin back to number 3, and that gave me a slice that looked a lot like this, and that's going to make a really good pickle. So we're going to go ahead and slice up the rest of our pickles, and once we get done with that, of course we have to taste one to ensure quality, and they are good. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the stove, and I'll show you how to make the brine. All right, in a medium sauce pot over high heat, we're going to go ahead and bring to a boil a half a cup of water and a cup and a half of white distilled vinegar. Now, guys, I generally almost forgot all about this, but to this water, we need to go ahead and add 1 tablespoon of kosher salt and 1 tablespoon of regular granulated sugar. You really need to get those 2 items in before it comes to a boil to make sure all of your seasoning ingredients are fully dissolved into the water. All right, and now once that whole brine has come to a boil, we're going to take this off the heat and we'll show you how to assemble all of this. So these 5 mini cucumbers did end up filling one of these nice sized mason jars with hinged lids. I do prefer the hinged lids to these jars because it makes my life easier. Now before I put those cukes in the jar, I did add in an optional 2 teaspoons of minced garlic because I feel like it adds an incredible flavor. And honestly, my favorite pickles are made with garlic. Now, if you're the garlic police, you could also use 2 whole cloves of garlic that are smashed and minced, but guys, don't tell me how to live my life. This jarred garlic gives great flavor. So we're going to pour all that nice pickling brine over our pickle chips, and we're going to top this off with some nice sprigs of fresh dill. The more dill you add, the better the flavor it will be. So I added in a nice hefty amount of that. And to keep everything submerged, I've got this nice round of plastic wrap. And basically, we are going to use this as an anchor to keep everything submerged, but you do not want to clog it so full that none of the hot vapor can escape. We do want this to cool down. This is just pressing everything down into the brine. And guys, the longer this sits in the brine, and when you put it in the fridge, the more like a conventional pickle this will taste. This will definitely keep in your fridge for a couple weeks. And now that our homemade pickles are steeping away in their brine, it's time to move on to the next step of this meal. Before we can even get involved in the burgers and fries, we need to knock this next part out, and that is the beer cheese sauce. Alright, so I'm going to give you a little rundown of some of the ingredients here. This one did not kind of come together as I had hoped last time, so I have definitely reformulated the recipe for this, and it should handle the amount of cheese a little bit better than last time. Alright, so what you're seeing in front of you right here is a 3 cheese blend. This is a whole 8-ounce block of pepper jack cheese, freshly grated. All these cheeses are freshly grated. An 8-ounce block of sharp cheddar. And then about 6 out of 7 ounces of a Kerrygold reserved Irish sharp cheddar. Before I started shredding this cheese off, I did shave off a few slices to put on our burgers. So this right here is about 1.5 cups of grated cheese. So we're going to need a lot of roux to handle this. Again, this is 1 stick of unsalted butter, 1/2 cup of flour, our seasonings that'll be discussed at a later time, and then this is 1.25 cups of 2% milk, or any milk of your choice really will work, and then 3/4 of a cup of beer. And if you guys are wondering what beer I'm using tonight, it is this right here, some Mick Ultra. I know what you guys are saying. That's not very Irish of you, but I'm a broke dude trying to make, good food. So this is a cheap beer, and I've used it before plenty of times while cooking, and it always turns out great and flavorful. If you want to make this a little more traditional Irish, you're going to want to use something like a Guinness dark beer or a Bock, those types of ales. I personally hate bitter beer, and also they're kind of expensive, but this does the trick because it had the right flavor last time using this particular beer, so we're using it again today. And if you're wondering where the rest of the beer is going to go to, you're looking at it. That was earned. All right, so let's get to the stove. All right, in a clean sauce pot over medium-high heat, we're going to go ahead and add in our unsalted butter, and we're going to get that melted down. You guys already know what we're doing here. We've done it 1,000 times before on this channel. We're making a roux. All right, and once that butter is all nice and broken down and melted, we're going to add in a ½ cup of all-purpose flour. Get that mixed in, and we're going to go ahead and add in our beer cheese seasoning, which is a ½ teaspoon of kosher salt, ½ teaspoon ground black pepper, ½ teaspoon onion powder, ½ teaspoon of garlic powder, ½ teaspoon smoked paprika, and a ¼ teaspoon of cayenne pepper. We're keeping all of these seasonings pretty minimal because we don't want to drown out the taste of that wonderful cheese blend. And of course, we also need to get that hint of beer in there too. So once everything is all nice and combined, it starts to smell a lot like a nacho cheese. And guys, I made this differently the first time I made beer cheese. And they wanted you to add the seasonings in after the milk. And guys, honestly, it did not incorporate as well as I would have liked. And honestly, when you get it down in here with the flour, all those seasonings, they toast and all their oils get released and you get a stronger flavor. So we're going to just go ahead and keep stirring this roux up, and we're going to cook out that raw flour for about 2 minutes. And now that our 2 minutes is up, it's time to start slowly adding in our milk and beer mixture, and we're switching out that spoon for a whisk. And if you guys haven't noticed already, I cannot maneuver around a camera tripod and pour anything. I am just generally habitually making a mess while doing this. So we're going to go ahead and slowly start adding in that liquid. Now that we've got a nice thick and creamy consistency here, we're going to go ahead and add in the rest of our milk, just like we do when we're making mac and cheese. So we're going to go ahead and continue to stir this, and this is going to thicken up rather quickly until we get to the point where we can start pulling that roux up off the side of the pot. And now it's time to start slowly adding in pinches of our 3 cheese mixture, making sure everything is combined. Now, some people might question my use of pepper jack. Guys, you can use any other cheese that you want. Traditionally, in most of the beer cheese recipes I've seen, it is Gruyere cheese or Gruyere cheese that they're using along with some form of cheddar cheese. I've also seen Swiss, but that's uncommon, as well as Monterey Jack. Normally, it's a type of cheddar, usually Irish or sharp, with a Gruyere cheese. But I've had pub cheese before made with pepper jack cheese, and I thought that was absolutely one of the most awesome pairings I've ever tasted. So we're replicating that. And guys, like I always say when we're making any sort of gravy or cheese sauce, it's always great to have your emergency milk or cow juice, as I call it, on hand, because we don't want this to be the consistency it's currently at, which is like a mac and cheese sauce sort of consistency. Very thick, very goopy. So we're going to go ahead and just in increments start adding in our milk, trying to loosen up this cheese sauce. It needs to be drizzleable, if that's a word, as well as thick. And right now we still don't have that, so we're going to continually gradually add in our milk and beer until we get to this consistency. We should be able to pour it with ease. It's nice and velvety. It's still thick, but not too thick to where you can't dip your fries in it. We don't want it to be so thick where if you dip your fries in it, it breaks your fries, or, worse, your fingers just stick into it. But this is what we're looking for here. Now we're going to take this off the heat and get started working on our burgers. Now it's time for the main event, burgers and fries. And in this container is 2¼ pounds of ground beef. And now it's time to add in our Irish-inspired seasoning, which is 1½ teaspoons of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon ground black pepper, 1½ teaspoons of ground mustard. Mustard is super important. You could also substitute this for 1½ tablespoons of prepared Dijon, 2½ teaspoons of garlic powder. Always a lot of garlic in the Irish burger recipe. 1 tablespoon of onion powder. I'm going to be adding this in batches. And after everything is well combined, we're going to add in our secret weapon to these burgers, and that is a half a cup of that same Michelob Ultra beer. And we're going to make sure that all of that gets absorbed into our ground meat. Now, I have no indication that Ned Devine's burgers use any sort of beer in them. I know they use their own custom grind of beef to make their flavorful burgers, but I've cross-referenced a ton of different traditional Irish burger recipes, and nearly all of them, pretty much 99% of them, involve a beer of sorts into their burger mixture. And one thing that you should know is that the burger meat itself is going to be very loose because of the added moisture that the beer provides. So we do have to be very careful when rolling these guys out. And speaking of the burger balls, we're going to go ahead and make them larger than usual when we're making, like your average smash patty. You want a nice big burger ball, kind of like you see here. So there's not going to be any skimpage on the size here. Also, we're making them big to prevent any kind of shrinkage. We are going to have to add some fat to the pan before we put these burgers in to make sure they maintain their nice, big, and beefy size. So with that being said, let's head to the stove. All right, so in a nice size, large skillet over medium-high heat, I am going to be lubing up the entire surface area of this pan with some nice unsalted butter. I need a nice coat at the bottom of this pan. These burgers, we don't want them to stick. We don't want them to shrink. We need to be able to maintain their size and keep them together in the pan. That's the whole goal of this. So once we have a nice layer of butter like this, we're going to put it back on the heat, and we're going to start adding in our burgers 4 at a time. And then we are going to sear the bottom of those burgers for about 3 minutes. And after 3 minutes, pretty much the same technique that I used in the chicken burger recipe. If you missed that video, it was super awesome. I have a link in the description and a card floating around here. We're just going to go ahead and flip these guys over. You guys see the sear on that? That's amazing. Then we're going to smash these suckers out into a nice sized beef patty. And look how beautiful. Look how big those things are. That is accurate to the way that they should look. And honestly, guys, the moment these burgers hit the pan, the smell brought me back to 2018. And this is really identical to the way their burgers smelled. So I think we did something right here today. So we're going to cook these burgers 4 minutes on each side. And before I started rolling out these burger patties, I already had my pot of oil preheating to 375. So these fries will be cooking alongside the burgers. So everything should come together and finish up at the same time. All right. And so we're down to our last few burgers. We're giving them their final flip. So on top of mine, I know these guys are big, and honestly, I shouldn't be doing a double, but F the cardiologist, F the cholesterol police, YOLO, you only live once, and I'm probably not going to make these again for a very, very long time, just for these reasons. So on top of mine, I'm going to be placing those nice slices of Kerrygold Irish cheddar on top, and for the wife, I love her, but she is basic at times. 1 slice of American cheese. And once these burgers are ready to be taken off the heat, the fries should probably only have about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes left on them. So once everything comes up, I will meet you at the assembly. All right, so traditionally we would need potato buns for this, but of course Walmart has let me down again. So these are regular burger buns, and we're just going to toast these off. So on the bottom bun, we're going to lay down a nice layer of my homemade barbecue sauce. And then on top of that, our luxurious Irish double patty with full Irish cheddar on it. And on top of that, yes, we're going to be going in with a hefty portion of homemade pickles. And now that we've capped off our beautiful Irish creation, it's time to plate up some fries. And on top of that, a nice, luxurious coating of that beer cheese. And guys, this is beautiful. My mouth is watering, so let's get to tasting it. All right, and that is it. This is the plate. Now, I can tell you just from the moment the burgers hit the pan that the smell automatically brought me back to Ned Devine's, and it was 2018 all over again. So I think we did something right there. I can't confirm their recipe, But the nostalgic smell just brought me back to that wonderful place that I would visit again. And guys, if you are in Northern Virginia, I do very highly recommend that you stop by Ned Devine's and get you something to eat. There's a good atmosphere. There's always great food. And a very good selection of beers always on tap. Now, the pub cheese was something extra that I did. The beer cheese. My meal did not include beer cheese or anything like that, but I felt like that was what we needed to send this to the next level. That way we're not just serving a straight up plain boring, burger and fries. So, without further ado, let's get to the test. And these are some really beefy burgers here. And instantly, I'm just hit with that flavor. It's a juicy patty. You can taste the hints of the butter. Well seasoned. That sharp cheddar coming through. Of course, we always make good fries here, but this is one with a lot of that beer cheese on there. %100 better than last time. And I'll say this is my favorite beer cheese yet, so go out there and make this. Now, if you were wanting to go a little extra authentic with this, you would have put just some straight yellow mustard or some stone ground mustard on this bun. I like barbecue sauce on my burgers, but I do like sparing sauces. I like to taste everything. You would use stone ground mustard, whole mustard like that, and then on top of your pickles and whatnot, you would have like a cabbage slaw or pickled cabbage and pickled onions like on top of that. That would give it a nice extra authentic kick, or some kind of slaw. But I like cabbage, but not in that form. So I think for what we did tonight, I think we did give old Ned Devine a good run for his money. That Irish aged cheddar adds such a unique quality. You don't really taste any of the alcohol that was involved in making this. It's just this flavor that's distinct, and it gives a very nice quality to these burgers. Guys, try this at home. It does take a little while to make all of this. I want to say it was about an hour's worth of cooking, but it was definitely worth it. So until next time, this is your boy, the Mad Chef. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And if you have a burger request, something that's outside the box that you would like to see, just comment it below, and I'll do my best to give it to you. All right, until next time, this is Mark. You've been great. Have a great night.